What is going on, guys? In this video, we are going to talk about some major news about regulation coming for crypto, which I'm going to talk about the good and the bad. Also, some major fundamental news with BlackRock actually partnering with Coinbase, which is huge. I'm also going to dive into some charts as well to give you a quick update on what is happening in the cryptoverse. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive into stuff. So first and foremost, let's take a look at the charts real quick. Bitcoin is at 23,100. You can see we've had some resistance since this downtrend back in November, and then that flipped into support, and now we are trading into our third bear flag right here. We had one bear flag up here, came down 43%, another bear flag 43%. Or I think this is like 42%. And then right here, now we are trading, and it actually looks a little bit more bullish. I am leaning towards the shorter term bullish side of things, with Bitcoin coming up to at least 25 to 26. And then I think it may take a pause and then potentially come up to, because of this resistance right here on this, well, it was support, likely to turn into resistance, and then back up at 28 to 29,000 is where my major exit liquidity would be if we actually head that far. I think I posted this on Twitter. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, go check me out on Twitter. But I posted this the other day. Every time that we broke this resistance, or excuse me, this support on the RSI, every single time, the past 2 times, and now we're trading into our third bear flag, it came down at least 40%. So after we broke this support right here, this was a 43% drop from here. And then same thing right here, right? Let's see exactly when we broke it. It would have been right here. We came all the way down 43%. Now let's see what happened here, right? Where do we actually break it? Not from the top. We broke it at this candle right here, and we came down another 42%. All right, and if that were to happen again, let's say we break it. Let's see how close we're getting here. We're somewhat close. Let's say we break it a little bit down here, which I'll tell you exactly where I'm going to be watching for this. But let's say we break it here, okay? We're actually probably going to have to bring this down. If we came down another, 43%, 42%, that would take us down to 13,000 on BTC if that were to happen again. So the main thing that I'm looking for is making sure that we are not breaking this low. I think if we start to break this low of 22,300, it is a good sign that we at least obviously come and tap the bottom of the bear flag. But I think, as you continue to tap it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th time, every time you're tapping support or resistance, it gets weaker and weaker. So I wouldn't be ultra bullish anymore. I'm really not ultra bullish, but really that bullish anymore if we did break 22,300. So keep an eye on that on the shorter term, and we'll see if we actually are bullish into the start tomorrow. The stock market ended somewhat bullish, but then some employment numbers came out and it kind of reversed a little bit. But overall, the stocks have actually been kind of on a tear recently. We have broken above pretty significant resistance, and honestly, the market is just really enjoying the fact that the Fed gave some clarity on their stance and the rate hikes, and we don't have any news really for like another 50 days until the next rate hike. So we've got a lot of clarity coming into the month of August, and then subsequently into September. So let's go ahead and jump into the major news, which is Coinbase or BlackRock selecting Coinbase as their preferred partner for their Aladdin clients. So this is a really big deal, and the reason is because BlackRock is in a 10 to like $12 trillion asset manager. So they are the largest asset manager in all of asset management all around the world. And crypto is less than $1 trillion asset class. So we're talking about a firm that is more than 10x the size of all of crypto combined, finally partnering. They came out and said, I think like 4 or 5 months ago, that they were starting to get into it, but they have selected Coinbase as their preferred, so specifically Coinbase Prime, which is going to facilitate their trading and their custody for Bitcoin in particular. Now, this is important to realize why Bitcoin, and we're going to talk about regulation here in a second, but it's not just BlackRock that is important in this partnership. Obviously, the largest asset manager of all time getting into Bitcoin is obviously a very, very bullish, especially when it's 10 times the size of all of crypto combined. But this opens it up to their clients, okay? And BlackRock's clients are massive clients. Obviously, they have 10 trillion under management. They're wealth management firms. They're other institutions. So this isn't for your uncle, Ronald Gary Greg Tusser to come and buy $7 of Bitcoin. This is like a serious institution wealth manager that is coming to actually probably facilitate for their clients billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars. So this is a really, really big deal. This isn't just BlackRock. This is all their wealth management clients or institutions that partner with BlackRock. And again, this is their Aladdin clients, which are specifically their institutional clients. So really, really big deal in the right direction. And the reason why is specifically they partnered with Coinbase specifically to start trading Bitcoin is because Bitcoin is deemed as a commodity. All right. So there's a lot of confusion going on in the crypto regulation world on what assets are a security, what assets can potentially be a utility token. So it's like security token, utility token, and then what is a commodity as well. And thus far, the only cryptocurrency that's been deemed as a commodity is Bitcoin. So we just came out and had this news the other day that the SEC is investigating 40 different U.S. Exchanges. So pretty much every single cryptocurrency exchange the SEC is now investigating. So it's not just Coinbase like everyone kind of heard last week, which was negative news for Coinbase, where they came out and said, hey, these 9 coins that you guys actually listed on your exchange, we believe these are securities. They came back and not only are investigating Coinbase, but now investigating every single cryptocurrency exchange in the United States. So this is not a short-term thing that's going to be like, oh, we've got a lot of clarity tomorrow and we know exactly what's going to happen. This is going to be a longer-term investigation that goes on, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot of coins are going to be delisted because they meet the criteria of a security. So and this is the major case to watch: SEC versus Ripple, which has been going on for, I think it's been like a year and a half now. Typically these cases last around 2 years, so it's actually getting pretty close, and I believe it is early next year in which we're supposed to have a verdict if things do not continually get dragged on. But from every piece of news that I have been hearing and studying and reading, it's actually going in the favor of Ripple. So from everything that I hear, at least, it's been every single decision that the judge has been making has been aligning with the Ripple team. So this will be a really, really big case to watch. There's also a few other cases going on. I'm going to show you the 9 that just got delisted. But it's important to watch the Ripple case because I think that's going to set precedent for everything that happens. And also, if Ripple makes out of this case and it is not a security, that is obviously really bullish for other crypto assets. And I want to talk why it could potentially be bullish, even if it was deemed a security, is because, if they actually overcome this, that's going to, first of all, probably slow down the SEC a little bit in trying to, just deem everything like a security and just throwing a blanket statement, which I don't think is going to be possible. I think what's going to happen is, if I had to guess, right, I think a few of them are going to be deemed as a security, and they're going to get delisted from exchanges. And if, the projects and the teams behind them really want to actually be able to register as a security, they can get listed on different, brokerage accounts as a security. So just like a stock would trade, they would trade on Charles Schwab or Vanguard, anything like that that's actually licensed, any broker dealer like that. Okay, if they are deemed to not be a security, they can continue to exchange on U.S. exchanges. And I think if Ripple can overcome that case, this specific case, it's going to be extremely bullish because a lot of XRP is actually centralized. So a lot of the supply is owned by the founders of the project. And that is one of the things that the SEC does not want to see, because it potentially allows, a firm to dump on their, holders. So, and other retail clients. And that's one of the things that the SEC tries to protect against, are these massive rug pulls and things that are happening. So, everyone that's really, really worried about regulation needs to understand that it needs to happen in order for this to happen. If we want more, $10 trillion asset managers and sovereign wealth funds and, major institutions coming into the industry, we want to see regulation come. And that's just part of living in the United States, all right? If you want to operate here, you got to abide by regulation. So for me, I think it's actually really important. I'm hoping this happens sooner rather than just keep delaying the process. I hope we get clarity soon, because I think it's going to be extremely bullish for crypto. And, if a lot of things did get listed as securities, then a lot of these projects are going to have to, start marking their coins as securities. And it's just going to trade differently. And it's going to go back to the dinosaur era of how securities exchange on broker dealers, where you can't trade over the weekends, and you can only trade. You've got specific trading hours during the week. It's pretty boring in my opinion, and I think things need to eventually change. And I think that's why crypto and digital assets are so cool, is because it has completely changed the game for first of all, assets in general, because they're tokenizing a lot of different, even securities and real estate's being tokenized, and art and music and a lot of things. So it's changing assets in general, but it's also just making markets more efficient. Okay, I'm going to show you another article here about. So first of all, it's important to understand in this whole debate whether this is it's going to be deemed as a security or a commodity, is there's two different governing bodies. There's a CFTC, which is the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, and there's also the SEC, which is the Securities and Exchange Commission. So there's a big debate on, are crypto assets are they under the regulation of the CFTC or the SEC? And if they're a commodity, they can trade a little bit more freely. If they're a security, they're under more scrutiny and regulation. So that's the big question and debate right now: is does the CFTC have ownership over this, or does the SEC have ownership over it? And this is going to be something that's going to start happening, which we've already got clarity that Bitcoin is a commodity, and now we have another 9 different assets. I think they may be, no, they are right here. Okay, so Binance just delisted a cryptocurrency called AMP, okay? And the SEC recently, so when they came out and said, hey, Coinbase, you are actually listing securities, and here are the securities that we believe that you are listing, they gave Rally, so RLY, DDX, XYO, Rari, LCX, DFX, Chrome, and AMP were the ones. Okay, and I think if we were to look at, let's see what's happened to AMP. I can almost guarantee it's down considerably. Let's go to one that's not delisted. Yeah, it's way down. Let's look at see if it's still on Coinbase. Huh. Surprised I even have it, because I'm sure it got delisted. All right, let's check out Binance. I mean, yeah, it hasn't done anything. This is a 1-hour chart though, so this is kind of a bad example. So yeah, it is extremely down. So when these coins get deemed as a security, they just get absolutely demolished, because all liquidity is just gone, because all the exchanges in the United States just delist them. Obviously, there's exchanges like Binance and exchanges overseas, but it is not a positive thing for the asset. I'll tell you that. Okay, so those are the 9 that did get deemed as a security. We'll see if that actually, how this case plays out. This is going to be another super important case to understand. And what I think is wise is to kind of look at all these different assets and then kind of say, hey, what is the commonality with these assets? Like, why did they specifically choose these ones to go after? And then you can kind of formulate an opinion, and then you can try to stay away from the assets that are, similar to those. And I think that's one of the most, prudent things you can probably do. All right, and I want to shed some light a little bit on XRP right now. So XRP is definitely in an accumulation phase. So like I said, it's kind of coming out of the whole the case with the SEC. We'll see if they actually win the case, or if they, maybe they just settle for something kind of in a happy medium. But it does sound like the case Ripple versus SEC is actually in the favor of Ripple right now. So on a longer term time frame, if we look back at Ripple all the way in 2017, I remember this very vividly, this massive spike, and then came all the way back down. But now we haven't even hit, we haven't gone past the previous all-time high, and we've been in a pretty heavy downtrend since it was announced that, it's potentially a security. And now we're in this phase where it looks like we've got some serious accumulation. We're on a 3-day chart right now. So it does appear that we've got some serious accumulation. Typically when you see a really big sell-off, and then you've kind of got this kind of U-like shape recovery, and each candle is getting smaller and smaller. You hit a bottom, then you start to have higher lows and higher highs, and now you're starting to trade up into some type of a wedge or channel. And then you've also got the RSI rising as well, making higher highs and higher lows. It's looking quite bullish for XRP, especially considering that the fundamentals around the corner of potentially the case being over is, within the next about 6 months, I believe. So anyways, if you did believe in XRP, may not be a bad time to start doing your own due diligence and looking into the asset and seeing if it is a potential piece of your portfolio. And here's another thing that I want to mention that a lot of people don't they don't either know about it yet, or they don't really understand how big this whole thing is this thing called ISO 222. Okay, so ISO is it's the International Organization for Standardization. They make specific global rules on how commerce and businesses and organizations transact and communicate. So ISO 222 is a new system of language that the banks are using to communicate. All right, so it's switching from the old SWIFT system, which I'm sure you've heard of the SWIFT system, which there's hundreds of trillions of dollars that are transacted on the SWIFT system. And now we are starting to see the banks actually adopt ISO 222, and this is supposed to be fully up and running by, I believe it's November of 2023. So we've got just over a year until this officially launches. And the reason why this is important is because, again, this is how all banks are going to communicate from here on out. Okay, so all the banks are slowly going to move from the SWIFT system over to ISO 222, and this just makes the banking systems more efficient. So it's just really opening up a new railroads essentially for money to transact, globally. So if you were to look at the specific blockchains that are actually approved, Ripple was the first one. So Ripple XRP, member of the ISO 222 standards body. We've then got Stellar, which was the other actual founder of Ripple, which he then left Brad Garlinghouse and started Stellar Lumens, which is really a competitor to Ripple, but they've got a little bit different of a niche. Stellar's also making moves too. They've got some really big developments happening with their blockchain to do 1 million transactions per second. I believe they're partnered with Samsung now. So they've got some decent partnerships, but Ripple has an insane amount of banking partnerships. And what, Ripple's technology really does is it'll convert, let's say you want to send money to someone in China, okay? And you're sending from, the United States, you're sending US dollar. It'll find the cheapest way to transact through to get your currency into, the Chinese yuan. So it could go to the Mexican peso to the Swiss franc to the Chinese yuan and transact it in a split second and find the cheapest route to do that. And it will use the XRP currency for settlement. So Ripple has some really, really great technology, and even more so, they have an unbelievable amount of banking partnerships. It's honestly pretty ridiculous. You should go look up Ripple and all their partnerships and do some looking into RippleNet, but it is pretty insane how much traction they have. So I haven't really talked about Ripple, publicly much, but I think it is important. Some other blockchains that are compliant but not actually a member yet are XFin. So the coin is XDC, IOTA, and then Algorand as well, which are all three compliant. And then we've got, three other ones potentially, which is Hedera, Hashgraph, which is actually not a blockchain. It's a different type of technology called the Hashgraph, and then Quant and Cardano. So those are all rumored to be compliant. I'm not sure if they actually are yet. These three are, and then it's actually a member of the board is just Ripple and Stellar, which I think is something to really keep your finger on the pulse, because again, if this is how all major banks in the entire world are going to transact and communicate, it's probably very intelligent to start understanding the important aspects that are going to help these things develop and grow. And if you can, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds. We're actually talking about, more than hundreds of trillions of dollars transacting on a yearly basis. It is insane the amount of money that goes through the SWIFT system. So for this to happen and for them to announce that these blockchains are approved are an extremely big deal. And you should definitely do your own research and figure out if it's something that you want to consider taking a position in. All right. So a lot of things happening right now. This is why it's so important to stay on top of the fundamentals, because, some little news, Coinbase's stock, I think, went up like 30 or 40% on the news, but little developments like this happen. And this is the most important thing to understand is during these bear markets, everyone kind of just goes back and acts like everything's dying and no one really keeps their, like, a lot of people leave the crypto world or even the stock world, the bond market, whatever it is. When times get tough, you see the weak hands leave. That is the time to be more intelligent and more focused on the asset class, because when there's major developments in the space, when price is trending down and there's major fundamental announcements that are going to be huge for one or two or the entire asset class, if you can buy assets that are sold off very hard where price has gone down but fundamentals are going up, that is where you can have a unbelievable opportunity to grow your wealth extraordinarily well. Okay. And we saw this happen with a lot of companies in the dot-com bubble. And there's a lot of things pointing towards, crypto and blockchain being right aligned with, the growth of the internet and the internet companies, and, how the internet bubble popped. And then, it kind of came up, and now the largest companies in the world are internet companies, and pretty much every company that's relevant is a tech company now. And that's how things change. And it's really important to have that awareness in order to be able to make intelligent decisions for yourself. So anyways, hope you guys keep your fingers on the pulse. Have a really, really great week. I'm really excited to see this type of news. I want to continue. I mean, Fidelity is extremely bullish they've been mining Bitcoin since 2014, which not many people know. So it's really, really cool to see developments like this happen, because it's just a matter of time, guys. Do not listen to what the news is saying, what CNN is saying, what your mom is saying, what your dog is saying, what the bananas in your cabinet are saying. Actually, don't even listen. Watch what the big money is doing. Watch what the institutions are doing. Watch what the $1 trillion asset managers are doing, because that is where the money is going. There's way more money in the institutional side of things than the retail game. All right. And, crypto for the most part has been, the vast majority of it has been retail. Pretty much all of it has been retail until about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And still like 90% of the asset class is retail. So once you start to see the big boys come in, I'm telling you, that's when you see the asset class go to 5, 10, 20, $50 trillion. And that doesn't happen. The big boys don't come until there's regulatory clarity. And that's exactly why BlackRock said, we only want Bitcoin and we want to work with the largest crypto exchange in the United States. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So we do want to see more regulation come in because it's going to lead to adoption. And adoption typically will lead to price appreciation because it increases the demand. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great week. And I will see you here on